And welcome everybody to another episode of the Planet Mullins podcast. I have a fantastic guest today. One of my recently, when you're old like me, like a recent friend is somebody you've known 2 years. Like an old friend is somebody you go visit in the rest home. But say hello, folks, to Denver-based saxophonist with a fantastic new album out. This is Mr. Daryl Gott, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Daryl.
Hello, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I'll tell you, I'm trying to be hip and cool like you. I'm gonna see if I can learn to impersonate your voice. You're more than Aurora cool. You're more than Denver cool. And if I have anything to do with it, you'll be worldwide jazz cool in a few months. Because your album is fantastic, but you as a cat and a player getting some really rave reviews on your new project. It's called, is it Aperture or Aperture?
Aperture.
Aperture. And for people who think that that's like stitching somebody medically after a car accident, please explain. Please explain what that word means to the layman.
Well, I was thinking more like a camera's aperture is like the setting of the hole that you look through, basically. And so this is my aperture. It's my perspective on music, and as a composer, that's basically kind of what I was, my experience up into this point as a musician. That's kind of what I was thinking with that.
Well, I see copies of your CD back there. Hold that up to the camera so people can see the whole Aperture vibe.
There you go.
Yeah,
So,
man. I
still
love it.
got some available for sale too, and on my
Oh,
website, of course.
okay. What's the name of your website?
It's darylgottmusic.com, DARYLGOTT music.com.
Beautiful. Okay.
And I
So,
keep my schedule up there, as well as you can buy my album and learn more about me there. So check that out for sure.
okay, cool. Well, I noticed that, after sitting in and playing with you at the jam that you host in downtown Denver, that you've got quite the following, man. I mean, because anytime I go to your jam, all these people come up to me and say, "Yeah, man, what's your Instagram?" And my internet thing goes all the way back to AOL before you were born, I think. And it went
Hey, I
like,
was in
actually,
AOL email for a minute, man. Give me
yeah.
credit.
Yeah, before AOL, there was, BBSs and CompuServe, and then there was AOL, and then MySpace. I mean,
Yep.
you know who I met on MySpace that was so cool was Toots Thielsman, the
Oh, wow.
harmonica player, was on MySpace before he died. This was eons ago. And I used to
Wow.
chat with him like once a week about stuff. He was great.
Oh, I love Toots. He's a bad man.
He's a bad dude, man. But anyway, so now, as we've been trying to get some media stuff going for you, I just thought it was funny that, you kind of represent the dividing line between Earth and space, because Facebook, which used to be cool, is pretty much not cool now. But Instagram, and I'm in the Facebook world. I do a lot of work and promo and stuff there. And then you're on the Instagram planet, but you've got how many followers on Instagram? It's a lot for a jazz sax guy that doesn't sing.
I'm working on it. I try to stay up to date on my stuff and keep active on there, because I know that that's where people are looking. And thanks to you, I'm back on my Facebook game. Tapping in.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing about jazz and how it applies to social media, because when
Mhm.
I was a kid first playing gigs, I was always happy to go to a rest home where people were in their final years or whatever. And, the Denver Public Schools, which I went through, and you went through Aurora Public Schools, right?
Yeah, I ended up. So it's a funny story, actually. I started in Aurora Public Schools, and and Paul Romaine,
Right.
who's a big mentor of mine, great drummer in Denver. Um, Basically, what happened, man, is I was going to a school called Gateway High School, which was, you know, back then the music program wasn't happening. They had just lost their they had a great music teacher, and right when I started there, he moved on to bigger and better things. And so I didn't have a great experience there, and so what happened is on it was like the day I was supposed to start school or the day before on my senior year of high school. Um, Paul Romaine calls me and says, "Hey, what do you think about going to Denver School of the Arts?" Which,
Oh,
I already knew a bunch of cats over there because I was playing, with my peers, and a bunch of my peers were going over there. And I hadn't even, considered it. I was getting heavy into the saxophone and jazz at that point. So, I had already enrolled at Gateway for my senior year, and
oh,
Romaine calls me and says, "Hey, what do you think about going to DSA? They need an alto player, Denver School of the Arts." And I'm like, "Hell yeah, of course I want to go do that." And overnight, man, my life changed big time because at Gateway, it was all about the football team. Playing saxophone was not the coolest thing you could do,
right,
but being a sax player at Denver School of the Arts was about the coolest thing you could do, and so that
right.
that changed my life. Now I'm way more focused on my art, and you know, people, girls love saxophone at DSA, and it was a good experience, man.
Man, going back to the old folks' home thing to tie the story back around, that's funny because it used to be and still is in some ways like girls really love guitar players, rock
Yeah.
guitar players. Like, oh, look his hair, it's so wavy. Oh, look his arms, he's got tattoos. And, to be a jazz musician and have support is really so important for guys like you and me because I had a bad high school experience, but I got Jack Fredrickson at Lincoln in my senior year. And it's just those early mentors. I took, speaking of Paul Romaine, when I was a sax player, I took Barry sax from his dad.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would go to
Wow.
Klasny Music and do all that. But the age range in jazz, here's what one of the things that this is tying it into my original point. One of the things I really like is jazz works for everybody, every age, every background, every ethnicity, everything. I mean, it's just this universal kind of thing. And when I was young playing my first gigs, they would send us out to rest homes. They called them rest homes then. I don't know what they call them now. Maybe it's called assisted living or something. But we would show up, and just do these shows, and I would talk to these people. And it's amazing if you're open minded. An 80-year-old person there's so much you can learn from them.
Oh yeah.
And
When I was younger, I mean, that was one of the great things that my parents taught me is, learn how to talk to people who are older than you and learn from them, and that, in the tradition of jazz, that's like what it's all about because,
right,
it's like, even at my age, 36, I'm hanging with cats that are 70 years old plus, and I'm also hanging with, high schoolers that are playing their butts off. It's like it's
right,
everybody, and it's so I think that a huge part of my development is owed to my mentors and the older cats that went through the process before me and showed me not just in lessons but how they live and how they act. That's something I got from just hanging around those cats and picking their brain on oh, what was it like to play with Frank Sinatra? What was it like to,
right,
all the, like learning those things? It's a different generation, which, like you mentioned about everybody's playing jazz now, which is awesome. It's, you got people from all backgrounds, all genders, race, it's all there. And, it's a different time, which is great. But, you got to learn from the past too. Jazz is such a such a rich history and lineage, that you gotta keep your ear to the past, but also keep your ear to the future.
Well, that's what I think going to your album now is what I kind of felt generationally about your album, because it doesn't sound like the other albums that are out there. I mean, obviously you have roots and things like I can hear some New York, I can hear some Blue Note vibe in there. And oh, I want to read everybody this quote um, from Arturo Gomez at KUVO Jazz Radio in Denver. He's the music director there. And here's what he said about you. Daryl Gott was one of KUVO's Jazz 30 under 30 musicians chosen in 2015, our 30th anniversary year. And as a musician who would succeed, we included Daryl. He has not disappointed us. His debut as a leader, Aperture, ranks as one of the most played albums in the fall of 2023, a well-deserved honor.
Yeah, all right.
Come on, brother. Come on with it,
Thanks,
man.
Arturo.
Yeah, and you were recently on KVO. I remember listening to your interview, which I thought you did really well, and you'll be doing a whole lot more of those. I can't wait for the ones where it's Japan calling and you haven't slept yet, because I'm going to drive by your house with a bullhorn saying, vote for Biden. Why are you trying to do that? Because there's a lot of distractions trying to make music, and you seem to just always be really cool and really level-headed. Like, have you always been just kind of a chill cat, or did you have to work at that? Because I have to work at it. I'm kind of excitable.
That's the way God made me, man.
Okay.
No, I think I get that from my dad. He's a very relaxed person, and he never gets too riled up, and that I learned a lot from him, just in that respect, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think that it really shows in your music, because well, first off, the players in Denver are just top notch, best as anyone in the universe level players. And I'm particularly, since I'm a keyboard guy, particularly impressed with Tom Amend, who's playing B3 and Rhodes.
Yeah.
And it was fun to host your album release party at Dazzle a couple of months ago.
Thank you for that, by the way, man.
Yeah, absolutely,
Great
man.
success. Packed house, sold a bunch of CDs, man.
It was packed, and while they were waiting for the band to come on, they had this little background music playing, and I was doing these pantomimes to it. And, and I had the crowd like laughing because I don't know how to dance, so I look really stupid. So at the end of the night, Tom Amend's wife came up and she said, "The best part about your hosting was the dancing." I was like, "Oh man, I thought I did great. I had on the nice suit and I said all the right stuff." And if Arturo was at your thing, and I had a chance to talk to him, he's a huge supporter of you and all that you do in the community. Now you're doing not only your Monday night thing downtown, but you have like an all ages jam in Aurora that you do that everybody should know about. So tell
Yeah, so
people about
that one is going back to mentors and all that. I kind of took a page from my mentor's book, and I teach for this nonprofit organization called Colorado Conservatory for the Jazz Arts, which was started by Paul Romaine and Chris Romaine about, I want to say, 23 years ago.
Right, or even longer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while, and I went through that program as a kid, and that's basically what it is a mentorship program where groups of younger people. Actually, now they've expanded to adult groups, which is awesome. They get mentored for like 10 weeks, and then play at the club. And going off of that was an important thing, because like I was saying, that the school that I started at, Gateway, the jazz program was terrible at that time, you know. So if it wasn't for CCJ, I don't know that I'd be playing at this point, because it was like I I dropped out of the music program at Gateway, but I had this CCJA thing that I was able to maintain and be excited about music. So
Right.
that really helped my helped my playing and just helped me be excited about the music. So, you know, when I a couple of years ago, I'm thinking like, how can I give back to the community in the same manner that my mentors gave to me?
I
And
see.
so I basically started this all ages jam. You know, another thing in my development was you know, in my early 20s, for maybe a decade, I was just trying to go out every single night and sit in as much as I possibly could.
Okay.
And that was really a big part of my development. And the only issue is that, you know, nowadays most of the places that you can do that at are bars that are 21 plus.
Right.
So my idea was to give, you know, a safe space that younger cats and older cats can all come and learn together. So I do this all ages jam once a month. It's the last Sunday of every month
Okay.
at the Stanley Marketplace here in Aurora, and it's from 1 to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Uh, and yeah, last Sunday of every month, and we have a blast, man. It's been really great just to, you know, be inspired by the younger cats, and you know, I hire cats that are in in their 60s, 70s, and usually I'll have like a cat in their 60s and a high schooler in the house band, you know, like which is a beautiful thing to witness, you know. We're all learning from each other, you know.
You know who started that way back in the day was Charlie Burrell.
Yeah, yeah. There's some
Because
ever history.
yeah, because Charlie Burrell was just this one of a kind, amazing force. And when I was in the Denver, you auditioned for the Denver Citywide Jazz Band, you know, the best of the 9 high schools. And Charlie Burrell was, you know, supportive of that, but he was booking me on gigs on the 16th Street Mall on these little stages where they would bring out an upright piano, and Charlie might have been 60 then or something. And, you know, he'd be 60. I was 15 when I was doing this stuff. And then I'm trying to remember who played drums with us. And then, of course, Diane Reeves being his niece. Diane and I toured around with a Denver Citywide Jazz Band with me as the piano feature and her as the vocal feature because she was from GW High School.
Wow,
Right.
that's
So,
all.
so Denver is just, you know, in some ways, I hate to promote Denver too much because the scene is so good, thanks to cast like you and Arturo and Matt and Donald's over at Dazzle and stuff, that I don't want it to get too crowded to where even I can't find a gig.
Well,
As
you know, it's changed a lot, you know, in the last 10, 15 years. It's grown a lot in a good way, you know, because
yeah,
we got there's more people here that want to go see music, and there's more venues opening up, you know. It's kind of like the perfect scene at this point, you know. You got
quiet.
I know, right? You
Don't
got a
tell
couple
us.
of great university programs happening,
Right,
pumping
right.
out some kids, and you know, people are moving here. It's I always love when cats come from, you know, New York and Chicago, and they're, you know, they come and hang at the gym, and they see that, like, you know, we're the real deal, you know. It's
Yeah.
not just some small town vibe, you know. It's the real
Right. Yeah. Well,
stuff.
especially now that you've got, you know, studios like Mighty Fine and Calling Out there producing these top level recordings. I
Absolutely,
mean, my
absolutely.
last album with my live group was at Mighty Fine. And man, that's just, you put that stuff on the radio, it holds up worldwide. Everybody loves it. And I'm just excited to you know, be kind of helping you get into that whole world of the radio thing and the reviews and all that, because um, you know, you definitely are worthy contender out there. Before we run out of time, when I was talking with Scott Yano about you, the world famous jazz critic,
Mhm.
before I sent him the thing, I probably shouldn't say this, but he was. I know him all these years, and he just really hates that shrill kind of Kenny G tone with the whiny repeated thing. Diddle, 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 diddle. You know, he hates that so much. And when I decided I was going to, work with you on your project as a, consulting producer, basically, that was one of the things he was like, I don't know, man, but another alto player, because now he said there's 200 jazz albums released every month,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
insane. So I said, no, man, you're going to have to listen to Daryl because his vibe is really different. I couldn't really describe it other than to say it's kind of a little bit Paul Desmond ish, but more interesting.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
harmonically, it's much more interesting than Dave Brubeck stuff. But that's one of those kind of.
Well, coming up, I couldn't stand that shrill sound on the saxophone either. So I gravitated towards a darker sound, and even more tenor players. I'm an alto player, but and obviously I love Bird and all the cats, Cannonball, but I never really dug that kind of like sharp alto sound, it's just, I like a darker sound, kind of that West Coast sound, but then with a East Coast harmony, like
Yeah,
like
that's the
like
best way to put
you
it. Right. That's it right there. That nails it right there. Well, hey man, I'm sorry that we're about out of time, but I can't thank you enough for coming on the Planet Mullins podcast. And I'm going to label this a special holiday edition because I just wrapped season 6 of the show. I've done 68 hours of the show.
Wow.
And the last guy I had was Jerry Gibbs, who's absolutely hilarious.
I just watched that. I was laughing my ass off the whole time.
Jerry, he is a really funny cat, and I always like, when his sense of humor is in there. I try and be funny. Jerry's funny, and the original king of funny was Monk because of the way that he would just put that stuff in the writing. So once again, folks, from Colorado and soon to be a national force, composer, saxophonist extraordinaire, Daryl Gott Music. And what's your Instagram?
uh, at Daryl Gott.
At Daryl Gott. So that's pretty simple. There's 2 T's on there.
Yep.
and
DARYLGOTT.
yeah, absolutely fantastic, man. So I'll be
And
seeing
thank
you
you,
around
Ralph.
the
I
jams and the
appreciate you, man.
scene. What's
Yep.
that?
Thank you so much, man, for helping me out, and it's always a pleasure working with you, and looking forward to more in the future, man.
Yeah, we had fun when we did that little duet gig at the
That
church
was
a couple
that
weeks
was so fun, man. That was so fun.
Yeah, we'll have to what was that album title I came up with?
Eggnog Plasterville.
Happy holidays to you, brother. And thanks
Thank
again. And
you.
thanks to everybody for
Ralph.
watching. We'll see y'all very soon. Bye bye.